In this Elden Ring bleed build, we are going to be using weapons that are not commonly used. They are very, very powerful, and you have a choice with the weapons you actually run. So just quickly before we do get into this, if you are not currently subbed to the channel, make sure you do sub, turn notifications on. We are so close to 100,000 subs now, and I would appreciate it if you did join me on this journey. Also, if you do enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you want to support me further as a creator, then check out the links in the description, and let's get into it. So the choice you have is out of the Clean Rot Knight's Sword, or the S-Tok. Personally, for me, it's going to be the Clean Rot Knight's Sword, because it has a little bit of a higher physical attack power. They are both in the thrusting sword category, so you could even power stance with them. So essentially dual wield and get a unique moveset. If we take a look at both these swords, they are fairly similar in terms of their length, so the range isn't going to differ that much. If you want to get the S-Tok, you can either buy this from the merchant that sits down right here at the far south side of Liurnia Lake, or you can buy one off Patches. With Patches, I recommend killing him. There's no point going through his entire quest, because at the end he just disappears and you'll never see him again. So kill him, there's not much benefit to keeping him alive, and those two merchants will get you the S-Toks so that you can dual wield them. However, if you want the Clean Rot Knight Sword, there are quite a few Clean Rot Knights around the game world, but over in Caelid, if you head to Inner Aeonia, when you are here, if you jump on your mount and you head southwest, exactly where I am going from the Site of Grace, you will get to this section here, and you will see a Clean Rot Knight spawning in. There we go, he's just coming up now, so kill him, that's number one. Then carrying on southwest over to this section, there is a second one that when you go close should start coming up. There we go. Then once you've killed that one, if you head round here, there will be a number 3 right here. I don't know why they're not coming up as quick as they normally do, but that is 3. Then you come over to this section and you have a 4th one here. But next to this one, right here where I am now, there is going to be your 5th Clean Rot Knight. So kill those enemies over and over again, fast travelling back to the Site of Grace when you are done, and you will eventually get 2 of the Clean Rot Knight swords. You can also get all their armor, and you can get the Halo Scythe off those enemies as well. So you have a complete choice when it comes to the weapons. The S-Tok is going to scale better off dexterity, and the Clean Rot Knight Sword will scale better off strength. If you take a look at my stats on the right hand side, I have 45 strength and 35 dexterity. So if I quickly use my Flask of Wondrous Physic, just so that it's fair, because I'm running the dexterity not, so it boosts it up by 10. So you'll now see that dex and strength are exactly the same value, and you will see that the Clean Rot Knight Sword has a 5 better physical attack power, and the bonus from my stats and the scaling is an extra 7. So it's slightly more powerful, but it also weighs 0.5 less. And the rest of the build is pretty much your typical bleed build. As I said, you can run this as an Elden Ring strength build, an Elden Ring dex build, however you want to run it. But you will also have an Elden Ring arcane build. That's going to be like the primary sort of factor. You want to run arcane, but with arcane I wouldn't bother going realistically anything above 50, sort of 60, because your blood loss build up isn't going to be affected or anything like that when you get it pretty much past like 60. So unless you've got the levels just sitting there doing nothing, I wouldn't recommend really, like, to get the most power out of the build, I wouldn't recommend going any higher than 60 arcane. And then you can pump some more points into your strength and dex to increase the attack power of the weapons even further. The requirements are exactly the same on both weapons, 11 strength and 13 dex, so they are really low. The reason I've put late game in the title for this one is because you will be running seppuku on both of them. So we are dual wielding the Clean Rot Knight swords. Then with the rest of the build, the Dragon Communion Seal, the reason we are using this is because it has S tier arcane scaling. 2 of the 3 things you can run in this build to buff it up and make it even more powerful don't scale with any seal. However, one of the incantations does scale based on arcane. It's a blood incantation, but it also deals fire damage, so you can run things like the Fire Scorpion Charm and you can buff the incantation even further. When it comes to your armor, the Raptor's Black Feathers are strongly recommended because of jump attacks. Then if your arcane is pretty low, you can run the silver tier mask. If you're wanting more out of the blood loss, you can run the white mask. However, I've been locked out of the white mask, which is the reason I'm not running it. And it's a little bit risky with the silver tier mask because that does lower your attack power, but it raises your arcane by 8. So it might be a little bit more beneficial to run that over anything else. But for now, and for me personally, I'm sticking with the black wolf mask just because it looks quite good. Then with the talismans, claw talisman to further enhance your jump attacks, so that is going to stack with the raptor's black feathers. Tree's favour +2 to raise my maximum health, stamina and equip load. However, I don't think I really need to worry about my equip load too much, or my stamina, or my health for that matter. So what I am going to do is switch that one out for the fire scorpion charm. So we've now got Claw Talisman, Fire Scorpion Charm, Lord of Blood's Exultation, because that will increase your attack power when there's blood loss nearby, and the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, because successive attacks are going to greatly raise your attack power. Then with the Flask of Wondrous Physic, Green Burst to boost our stamina recovery speed, and the Dex Knot to boost up our dexterity. However, the Dex Knot is going to be best with the S-Talk, whereas if we switch it over to the Strength one, it will further boost our Clean Rotten Knight swords. So this build, you do not have to buff it, it is very powerful just by itself. However, I would strongly recommend using seppuku, at least in your main hand. It's kind of in your offhand weapon, just purely for the blood loss build-up. Whereas the Swarm of Flies is the incantation that's a blood incantation that also scales with fire damage, and that's the reason we are going to run the Fire Scorpion Charm. The talisman where the Fire Scorpion Charm is, if you're not running Swarm of Flies, it's completely optional. It's whatever you want to run. There's not actually a lot that can buff a build based on blood. You've obviously got Ritual Sword that you can use, but you have to be at full health all the time, so it's incredibly situational. Then the standard for pretty much any build if you want to buff it up is Golden Vow, and if you're using physical or fire attack power, Flame grant me strength as well, because these two stack multiplicatively. So now the build is done, we will go over to what I'm going to call our test subject, the big giant up in Mountaintops of the Giants. And what I am going to do is pop my flask, use seppuku, and show you the damage this deals. Then we'll come back and we will do the Golden Vow and Flame grant me strength buffs. And then we will go elsewhere for the Swarm of Flies, because this guy doesn't do too well at taking a blood loss build-up. You can't really inflict status effects against him. So if we drink our flask, then use seppuku, even though we can't really proc blood loss against him. So the standard build, if I do jumping right triggers, you'll see that just one attack is fairly strong. It is averaging about 1200 damage each hit. So if you jump in with left bumper, you're going to get the benefit of both, as long as I don't let myself die. You're going to get the benefit of both the swords, providing he doesn't stand on me. And the good thing, with the jumping heavy attacks, you can poise break and you can knock down enemies and then come in for a crit and watch that damage. 7,900 damage. And there we go. After a short amount of time, that guy is Night Knights. So what we do again is use our Flask of Wondrous Physic. We switch over to the Sill and we proc Golden Vow. And then we use Flame grant me strength because we are using physical attacks in this build. Then we switch back, we proc seppuku, and the damage should be a decent amount more. So jumping in with left bumpers, yeah, you can see just how quick that damage is building up. 8,000 damage on the health bar there. And then if you jump in with a heavy attack, it's 2,500 per jumping heavy attack. And there we go, he's down again. We go round, pop to his chest for a crit. And at that time you are dealing 9,100 with Golden Vow and Flame grant me strength. And then even faster than before, that guy is Night Knights. So now we are at the Isolated Merchant Shack in Caelid. If you don't even want to use weapons, you just want to use incantations with a bleed build, you can do so if we proc Golden Vow. And then we use Flame grant me strength. Then we are just going to spam Swarm of Flies, and this thing is so powerful. But if you use it with your weapons, this will help you proc the blood loss. And if you're fighting bosses like Millennia, Yeah, this is crazy, crazy powerful. So if this guy actually lets me get an incantation off, so we should need maybe one more. And there we go. So that is just using Swarm of Flies. So if we use our weapons against this enemy, if we proc everything up, so Flask, then Golden Vow, then Flame grant me strength. Then we come over here, seppuku as well, don't forget that. And then we come over, and providing he doesn't actually eat me, you will see there just how nicely the blood loss actually builds up on this. It's got a rating of 108, and that's on both of them. I have tried this with Occult because when you are making a bleed build, providing you have a base blood loss build up on your weapon, so something like an Uchi Katana, the Rivers of Blood, anything that comes with that passive effect by default, if you want a higher physical damage out of your weapon, then use the Occult Affinity. If you want a better bleed damage build, then run it with the Blood Affinity. However, it does get to a point where there's going to be no higher benefit by putting so much bleed into the build. And that's why I said try not to get your arcane too much over 60 unless you absolutely feel like it, because there's not going to be much else after 60 that's going to benefit a blood loss build. But that was a look at the build, the dual wield or power stance clean rot knight swords. As I said, if you want to run this with dex instead of strength, then switch over to the S-Toc. You've got choice with this. Swarm of Flies is insane. Anything that you run in this sort of a build is going to be really, really powerful. And if I find other weapons that are going to be really cool, even if it's just for the fun factor in a bleed build, then I will be back to do more videos for them. I'm going to be checking out loads of different varieties of builds, again with some of the weapons that I have missed on basically my first round of builds, and then eventually when I do start running out, I'm going to go through to New Game Plus, and I'm going to pick up some of the weapons that you can only obtain once in each playthrough. So what we're going to do is leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it.